So, Nelson, what after the MBA are you going to do?
Are we going there?
Yes, we've gone there.
I'm gonna be very cryptic, if that's okay.
Really?
This is off camera.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to launch a company. I've been talking to other people interested in opportunities, in business opportunities here, and I want to partner up and launch a company. Still exploring opportunities and the best ways to approach it. But yeah, if anybody else from the program watching this or from any other program or wanting to join the program, if you have an idea, please feel free to reach out. I'm open to listening and to, well, helping out and potentially doing something together.
What sort of company and what sort of people do you think you would work well with?
So I think that my strengths and my interests are definitely more on the B2C side. I have done a lot of B2B work, but I don't find it as engaging, as fulfilling. It's very different when you see people actually using your product and you can see that and you can see how it changes their lives rather than how it changes their business. So I definitely like B2C better. There are industries that I have more experience or more interest in, but not really restricted to any. In terms of people that I would work well with, I think it's like people that have good ethics, good sense of respect and reciprocity, good commitment, and a good sets of skills that balance mine, especially like people with financial or like programming backgrounds would be hugely appreciated.
When you say people with financial background, you mean people who can support the business financially?
Well, that's definitely a plus, but I mean somebody that can do financial projections and get his investments would be great as well.
Okay.
Either their own or other people's then.
Yeah. During the MBA, what have you discovered about yourself that you feel you didn't know about before?
That I'm a really good networker and that I'm good with meeting people and talking to people. But that 220 was a bit of a stretch of my abilities.
So you've done a good job. I think you're probably the only person that remembers everyone's name.
Everyone would already be a stretch. Sometimes I forget if I haven't met the person twice. Some people like stay hidden, and I've only met them once in the beginning of the program. So when they come back out, eventually, and I bump into them, then I'm like, oh, what's your name again? But I think I've done a good job, but it was a big stretch. So that's one of the things that I learned. I also learned that I'm not a huge fan of finance. I really love money, but I'm not a big fan of numbers. Yeah, that was another learning. I came here expecting to take mostly finance electives, especially since I already have 2 degrees in management. So I thought that my blind spot would be around finance since I never really got to specialize in it. And now I know it's for a reason that I shouldn't push it further. I should just focus on my core competencies and where I can add most value.
Yeah, and would you balance that lack of, I wouldn't say financial skills, I'm sure you have some, but the lack of interest in the financial ongoings of a company, would you balance that with going to an external consultant or an external accountant, or do you think your companies would still need a CFO, someone who handles the financial side of things?
No, I would like a CFO. Maybe for the accounting side, then absolutely, we can hire like independent external accountants or just hire somebody. I would say that amongst the founders, amongst the C-level, not necessarily we need a CFO, but amongst the C-levels, we need to be like quite confident with the financials. We may hire, like, say, a finance director or something that is nearly fully contracted and salary based, but the board itself, the leadership needs to have an understanding of a good understanding, a good foundation on the finances, and having a CFO that is also capable of covering other aspects of the company. I think it's the ideal scenario.
Yeah, and try to answer this one very honestly. You've met 220 batchmates now, as I have. Do you think you would have bumped into a lot of people that would be good co-founders that you would not have bumped into otherwise without doing the MBA. So has the MBA helped in that?
I think so. I definitely think so. Lots of people are interested in starting companies like everywhere in every career, but I feel like in the batch, especially, people are readier to do it now, like immediately after the program, or they have a pretty big interest and it could be molded in that direction as well, instead of going into any other employment career. So that has been very positive. It may be a thing that is special to the Cambridge MBA, or it may happen in other MBAs as well. But I'm very pleased with the turn up in this sense in the cohort. I think that in terms of skill sets, yes, the people here are super smart. And also I think that like just for the fact that they're doing an MBA, they want to explore like that broader set of managerial skills, and explore like a breadth of skills that is definitely necessary for like a CEO or a co-founder in a startup. So I've had great conversations, and it's been more about like learning what they're interested in, where their skill sets lie, and finding good fits to explore things forward. But I've definitely met a good number of people.
Yeah, and we spoke about breadth versus depth in terms of careers, but when we think about socializing during the MBA, a lot of people choose to stay in cliques, small groups of people, whereas you will see other people, I suppose like yourself, who have a wider range of friends. But obviously our time is limited, so with the width comes maybe a lack of opportunity to go into deep with those people. With the experience that you've had towards get to know as many people as possible, do not limit yourself, which I'm assuming was your strategy to begin with. It seems so. Would you recommend that to other MBAs in the future, or do you think you might have benefited more by going into depth with a few people at the risk of excluding others?
So it matches my personality exactly what I did, and I actually reflected upon it before. So I always thought that like the first term I should try to meet as many people as possible, and especially I'm in this game to end up finding co-founders to partner up and start a company. Then I needed to have people to know me too. In case anybody has an idea, they know who to reach out to. So that was my focus for the first term, and then like I knew that for the further terms I would try to go deeper into people that I actually like hanging out with a bit more. Like, not that I dislike anybody, but sometimes there are a bit more affinity and stuff.
Do you think you did that though? Do you think
I think so. Also this is a perspective from a predominantly extrovert ambivert. So it was
extroverted ambivert.
An extroverted ambivert. Predominantly extroverted, I would say, but like I still need time for myself. So I think that works well, even though I stretch myself very thinly. On meeting like 220, that was a huge number for me, like to remember names, to remember stories, to remember everything. I think it paid out in the sense that like now I know a lot of people, that it's much easier for me to go there and like deepen those relationships. I think that that's a great strategy to have, especially in a small cohort like in Cambridge that we were only 220. I probably wouldn't recommend the same strategy for like a cohort like London Business School with like 500 people, or Harvard with like 1,000 or over. It may be unavoidable to end up in cliques there. But I think that that's a good approach. I, however, have seen like lots of people that took almost the opposite approach. That like they stayed in cliques at the beginning, and then little by little they go expanding their networks. I see that working quite well, especially for introverts and people that are like more on the shy and timid side. I think that both work. Definitely pleased with the outcome here. And I mean, depth is something that you build over time. You have opportunity to do that and build depth with these people that you met for the rest of your life. You don't really have so much opportunity to meet those people face to face for the rest of your life after the program. We're going to be dispersed after all. I'm planning to stay in London, and I trust that a high proportion of the people will do too.
They have historically, yeah, at least.
Yeah, and there are lots that have historically, but I know that like there are lots of people that are going back to their home countries or going to another country. So I'm glad that I got to meet as many people as I possibly physically could.
Yeah.
So that like in depth I can work on building over time.
And how did you cope with the energy drainage that comes with that? Because I had the same strategy, which is why I'm asking you these tough questions. But it was very draining. It's very tiring to talk to so many people and remember so many names.
I was doing it pretty much as a job, and I was very drained at the end of the first term. So at the end of my period, my projects to get to know everybody, I was very, very drained. So being away for the Christmas break was quite helpful.
To take regular breaks.
I would say like advice for people wanting to do engage in similar activities. I would say like pay extra attention to listening to your body, seeing when you're feeling low in energy, and know when you're starting to push yourself a bit too far in terms of like social activities and being out and about all the time and talking to people, etc. There's no plus side in spreading yourself too thin or like just getting too drained.
Yeah. And any tips on time management?
On time management?
For that?
I would say start studying early. Don't deprioritize that. So I did that, but right before the exams, 2-3 weeks before the exams, I felt really guilty that I hadn't prepared for the exams or for the final essays. So pretty much like I had to seclude myself and just study. One, because I was drained. Two, because I had to catch up with all the academics. So I would say that like a best case, and you probably heard this on all like your years in school and at work and everything, is that like you don't leave preparation to the last minute. You do it from the beginning. But I doubled down on that like it's the best scenario. Also to keep a bit of mental space that you're not always socializing. At the beginning, I was always out, always trying to meet people, and that was draining. If I had balanced that out with some ongoing studying and being up to date with the studies, that would have been more sustainable across the term. And I mean, just as fulfilling, just not as much stressful as it was.
Yeah. And what was your favorite moment from the MBA?
I gotta say my birthday party. My birthday party, definitely. Gladly, there was half of the cohort there, so 110 people from the cohort was there, and it was a very special moment for me. Being able to be surrounded by so many in the cohort, there are not that many opportunities where so many people from the cohort turn up, and it was great. And just like not caring about anything, it wasn't. To me, it was like being around cohort people, but not for any second thinking about networking or formalities or anything. It was just me enjoying myself, and I could see that people were doing the same. It was very relaxed, very casual. So to me, that was the highlight, and I'm definitely gonna remember it. The parts that I do remember, at least, I'll keep on remembering them.
Yeah, it's on camera, so you won't be able to forget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all of it is in camera, gladly.
Okay, still believe it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had unlimited funds and unlimited time and energy to do anything post MBA, what would that thing be? You only get one thing. Only one thing?
I would say start a very ambitious business that I would really believe in, and that has the potential to change the world in some way. Even if it includes acquiring competitors, because I think then myself and the partners will be able to do it better. If funds are unlimited, then that's what I would do. I would say that like most entrepreneurship activity these days are usually limited because of a lack of opportunities, because opportunities are already taken. But if you have unlimited funds and you think you can do a better job, then like you can just go out there and acquire all of them and bundle them up and do it your way. So
that's and this is a real strategy. One of which this strategy is taught as an MBA elective. So maybe good knowledge to have that. You know, you don't need to create everything from scratch. You can just go off and buy a company. There are multiple tools out there to help you do that.
In many cases, you can leverage the assets that already exist in the world and jump in and top it up, rather than having to replicate everything for no societal economic reason. So,
and what would be your advice to people from marketing like yourself who are about to do an MBA or thinking about an MBA?
I think 100%, especially because like most marketing career paths these days, they're quite pigeonholing, especially if it's like an agency career path. It gets very restricted from other areas of businesses and other practices in business in general, and from other skill sets. So I would say that, like, especially if you're in marketing, you haven't done a degree before in management, then absolutely do an MBA. It's going to be so helpful, and you're going to see like so much more importance to marketing, and also understand the importance of different areas of the business and how they interoperate with each other. So I definitely see huge value.
Yeah, and for the entrepreneurs out there who are doing the MBA to start a company like yourself, post-MBA, what are the activities that you think would be very valuable to people like that? They should do during their MBA and plan for?
Socialize, network, get to know people deep, so that you know which ones you want to work with like for the rest of your life. Entrepreneurship might as well be like a very serious relationship to like perhaps temporary, perhaps lifelong marriage. So get to know people, as many as possible, so you can choose which ones you want to be with, and build depth as well, so that you can know people besides just the formalities and the drink holding networking, and build those relationships in and out of work.
That's great to hear. With that, Nelson, let's conclude the podcast, and I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.